lovelies, this is Blossom. So today with this video I want to show you the different tarot decks and even oracle decks that I like to use for my creative writing. So at the moment that is something that I'm really focused on and that I spend my free time with to world building, character development, and of course writing my story. Of course I don't show you every tarot deck that I use, because that's the thing, you can use any tarot deck or any oracle deck to help you with that. But just a few that I use at the moment. Maybe I should say I do write fantasy, so there might be a little bit of an influence there with the kind of tarot or oracle decks that I like to use. Sorry, I'm just I shouldn't even say that, but I just cut my hair and it just it feels so good. Now I just want to play with it all the time. You know the feeling, you know, when you just did cut your hair, it just feels so good. I'm gonna show I'm gonna show you the different decks now. Let's switch over. So the first deck I want to show you is of course the Epic Tarot. So if you are into fantasy, this is a great deck to use because it comes from that background. It has a lot of fantasy elements in it, and I love it to work just like that with for my own readings and for client readings, but also definitely for creative story writing. I really like when there's a lot of scenery, when we have a lot of elements in the card for creative story writing, for using the cards for that, well, in general, to be honest. So I don't like minimalistic cards where there's not a lot of happening. For example, I wouldn't like a pip deck for that. I want something to look at, and in this deck you can see we have a lot to look at. The court cards are more simple, as you can see. This might not be ideal for you, but still we always have a different scenery in the background. So sometimes it's even just as simple as in what kind of landscape does this part of the story plays, and you just draw a card and whatever comes up then, right? There are a lot of ways to use it. I'm gonna show you a few, maybe a spread or something as we go on. So this is the Epic Tarot. So, and here we have the Tarot of the Hidden Realm. And the difference here is that we have a lot of up-close shots, a lot of faces, a lot of people. And I love this deck to use for character development. So when I do a spread about a character, for example, how was their childhood, their past, what are their motivations, strength and weakness, and so on. So when I do a spread like that, I really love to use this deck. I don't know, but it works for me. It may not work for everyone, as with everything, you know. But yeah, this deck really works well for that, for me. And you just look at those faces. You may even get an inspiration how your character actually look like. For example, we just say, how does this character look like? So she has black hair, she might be a bit older already. What eye color does she have? Sorry, I don't even see that. Blue, grayish. So you might go on with that. Maybe even how is that character dressed or whatever. Well, if it plays, oh God, I love this magician card. And so you can definitely use this deck as well. I love to use it for that. So that was Tarot of the Hidden Realm. And here's the Shadowscape Tarot. So this one is still in order. I just brought that back into order and I haven't shuffled it yet, but it doesn't matter. So here we have a lot going on in the different cards. There are a lot of details, and you can look at them forever and look at the little details. So this is really a great deck with also a lot of fantasy elements in it, if you like. So the best Hierophant card, yes. And yeah, I have to bring it really closer because there are so many details that you miss easily when you just have a quick look at them, but you can really dive into those cards. So that's why I really like to work with them, with those cards for having. And this is really a deck that I like for like story developing in general. For me now, again, maybe for you this is the perfect deck to create characters, or to bring some depth into your characters. There we go. So the Shadowscape Tarot, and then the Joie de vivre Tarot. Similar to the Shadowscape with the amount of detail that is, and a bit of, it's a whimsical deck. It's cute. We have a lot of different characters in here. And there I would also say, don't hesitate to have a look at the guidebook when you do, when you use tarot for creative writing or for writing, Why do I say creative writing? I don't even know. And you might get something out of the words. If you want to read, just press pause. So this might inspire you a little creative spark, that you might need. Just a few keywords that might give you the right idea. And again, this is more a deck that I use for, general story building, if you like, plots and so on. And again, we have a lot of details in those cards. So you definitely spend more time looking at them. So that was the Joie de vivre Tarot. And here we have the Bauer Tarot. So if you are familiar with the artwork and even maybe with the stories, so this is something that might help you. So he was an illustrator for folklore stories. And so this might even give you some idea. I think it's beautiful. It fits very well with my own ideas about stories that I actually working on now. So this is a great deck and I really like to use it. I just always get a little bit lost in those images, and they really spark something within me and give me a lot of ideas. And it might inspire you to look deeper into folklore, maybe. And folklore is a wonderful resource to create stories. You can just base your story on folklore, for example, but you give it a little twist, maybe a more modern perspective. That's possible. That's what we do, right? We change the stories. It's actually, stories are always more or less the same. We change a little bit around, but there is always just a few stories actually that exist, and then we rewrite stories actually. So this was the Bauer Tarot. So I think I'm gonna show you one last tarot deck and then we go over to the Oracle decks. So this is the Dark Grimoire Tarot, and very new, very unique, I would say, definitely. And I love to use this deck for my villain. And and the darker side, there's definitely a dark side to my story, so this can give you some ideas. And I think I'm just gonna show you what I did, just give you an example so you might get an idea if you never worked like this with a tarot deck. So let's just do that. I'm gonna shuffle and I'm gonna show you. So just for your information, I haven't done a walkthrough of this deck. I don't know if it's a deck that people are really interested in. If you would like to see a walkthrough, just let me know in the comments. So let's assume we have a villain. How do we develop this villain? And this is just going to be, you know, not an in-depth reading or anything, just a few ideas, just tossing around with a few things. So my first question, for example, that I wrote down is, how did his evil develop? And I got the Eight of Wands. So usually we talk about the Eight of Wands of swiftness and quickness, but also about communication. And for me, this card is just that he went in too deep, and he was very, my villain is a he, and he was very obsessed to get more power, and he worked with dark entities, whatever that might be. And some darker swords I actually developed from that card. Then again, the real evil of this world, which I don't want to go too deep in now, because I want to keep those things actually for myself. And he found a source, so we have the cauldron here. So there is some source of evilness that he drank. Let's say he found a cauldron. It's the evil soup. I know that wasn't very creative. The evil soup of madness, and there we go. That's how he became then evil. And then as the next cards, I have, for example, evil deeds from the past. Before we are actually now in the book, he is the villain, for example. And again, I talked about the source, for example, being a cauldron, the evil soup. But here then I thought, oh, okay, well, a sacred spring, well, but an unsacred spring. And he might have set rumors. He might have, set rumors in place to lure people in. So maybe the world thought that this is a healing well, or maybe you gain knowledge when you drink from it, or, you know, the fountain of youth, whatever you want to use. And and when people drank this, it corrupted their heart, because it's the evil soup, right? And that greater evil that I talked about before, that may be some kind of the void, and the void is formed by greed and loneliness. Because how does evil form? And it's often said that it's loneliness that brings the evil out. So it's not actually about how I interpretate the cards, but, you know, just to see what questions you can ask. So we have, I thought then, of course, a villain, so strength and weakness. So we have here the Ace of Swords and the Three of Pentacles. So for the Ace of Swords, I would say something who is very intelligent and who has great potential in becoming this big shot mage. For example, my villain is a mage, and because I saw this star here, and there are nine points, and my world, it's very the number 9, of course, because I want to bring in some of my own magic. The number 9 is very, very important, and therefore it's going to be 9 realms, and so he's going to be the master. His strength is that he has the potential to become actually the master of those 9 realms, for example. And then the weakness, the Three of Pentacles is often about, you know, working together, so he can't do that. His weakness is he's not a team player, and he really walks his path alone. Again, how does evil develops often from loneliness, and so, you know, because he can't be a team player. That's how this happens. He might even be bound to some sort of object. You know, just look at what you see. That's what I thought too. He might be bound to an object, or bound to, well, then there's something about my stories about portals, so he might be bound to those portals now that have been closed, and because those portals are now closed, that's his weakness, because he needs them to be open to get to his power, for example. There we go. How was he before he became so evil? And when I saw this card, the first thing I was like, he was the weakest of all the mages, of the mage society or whatever. And so he started to isolate himself. And so he was more open that evil source, the void that I called it before, could get to him. And then also when you think about, okay, so maybe your character has a certain hobby. When I saw the heads around here and the little statues, I thought, okay, he was a collector of magical artifacts, or of mystical artifacts. So that was what he did, but he was also very ambitious. Even if he was the weakest of the mages, he was maybe not as strong, but he was very ambitious and determined to get better and to reach his goals. And maybe he wanted even to create that master artifact that has an ongoing flow of magic, but I don't want to go into that. But he wasn't just saying that. He wanted to create that master artifact that he needed to get to his power. But maybe because, maybe he was so weak and he didn't have friends, or he had a lot of friends and he wanted to compete all the time with them. Who knows? Again, I wouldn't, if I would do this now, not on YouTube, but for myself, I would draw definitely more than one card for each question. Now, the next question I had, something that makes him likable. So we always need something, I don't know, I don't like pure evil, except when there's a need to be. And here we have the Two of Pentacles, and I wasn't, I'm still not sure about his card, so I'm definitely going to draw more than one card and make a story out of that. The only thing, he might have been somebody who helped people in need when they got attacked, for example. He might even have been a very good guy. Who knows? But here I really don't know what to do with it yet, but I'm going to figure that out. Like I said, this was just very quick shuffle. I had a quick look, but I'm gonna do those readings much more in depth, definitely. This is just a little quick Evo for you guys. So he might even have helped people who got attacked. Who knows? But it's a bit simple. The next question. Here we have the card already. Some of his quirks. And so I really like that the King of Cups here, or the King of Chalices, has this moustache. So he's definitely gonna have a moustache, and he's gonna be very concerned about it, and he's always going to comb it or anything. But I also like how this king sits on this golden chair. So he might not even sit his tushy anywhere else than on a golden chair. Maybe he's very, he's gonna be very concerned about his looks and how he presents himself, and definitely love the moustache. You need a villain with a moustache. And I should stop saying that, because I know my husband laughs when I say it because it's wrong. I'm not sure, it's mustache. But I say moustache, so. And then what else did I have? So magical power, for what is his greatest magical power, for example, because he's a mage, he has magic. So he's a walker between worlds. That is, for me, I was reading the little guidebook and he talked about the veil. And so definitely a walker between the worlds, which makes absolutely sense in my story. And maybe he's one of the few who can actually do that at any time. That it's very hard work to cross the worlds, because this is definitely a point in my story, for example, going from one world to another. But also maybe he is able to unite people through the well, as we saw before. So he gathers all the people with that holy, no, with that evil soup, sorry. And he is a master manipulator, for example. So, and then, like I said, I don't want to go too deep in. What is his greatest fear? Is also a question you can ask. And so I thought never to enter the white halls of mist again. So this could be the white halls of mist, for example. Sorry, what's with my voice? So the mighty halls of mist, or the white halls of mist. But maybe that he can never enter them, or he can never exit them. He can never escape them. So we shall see. And what are these white halls of mist, or the mighty halls of mist? We shall see. Then you can go on and ask more questions again. So, and we just go to the oracles now, and here we have the Faeries Oracle by Brian Froud. Ah, oh, my favorite card immediately here. So, yeah, okay, I see what I did there. I see. This is definitely one that I love to use, and there is definitely, I'm using the guidebook for that as well. There is so much information. You can get ideas for your characters, because it's not always just about your main character. I definitely had, without even laying out those cards or using this deck, I have inspiration for characters that are from this deck that definitely wanted to play a part in my story. I'm not going to tell you which one it is. It's maybe somebody you wouldn't expect. So yeah, the Faeries Oracle, like I said already, the guidebook alone could give you a lot of inspiration already, and again, so much. In some cards you have so much detail, and you could go on. If, of course, and I don't even think you need, to have your story in the fairy world, because you can easily translate it in wherever your story plays in. But there are definitely a lot of different characters that are interesting with very interesting traits, so might be an idea. And then I also really like to use the Heart of Faery Oracle for that. This is even more character driven, I think, more archetypes if you like, and yeah, just if you see that you can't work with the Faeries Oracle for your story writing, maybe the Heart of Faery is an idea, but you have to have this deck because it's out of print. I'm always a bit hesitating with showing out of print decks, but you may have it, and if not, don't worry, all good. The Speaker of Truth, the Heartless Love. So what is, what could be a twist, and we may find out that it's not weird love. Sorry, I'm not going to be very creative right now. The Queen of Shadows we have here. So definitely different and interesting ideas we can do. And then I have, for example, the Blessed Be Oracle cards that I like to use as well. Again, you can ignore the message completely or not. And you have a look at the guidebook. You can do whatever you want. I really like to use this deck, even if it mocks me. So I give you an example now. I ask the deck, there is a character, well, I'm not completely sure about it yet, but my idea was that she wakes up in the middle of the forest. Where does she go from there? And I kid you not, this is the card that I drew that moment. Like, oh, great help, thank you so much. I couldn't even make that up. So that was really funny. And not helpful at all. Or maybe it was, who knows. And yeah, so I liked it because the artwork is really inspiring, I think, for me, and it really plays into the world that that I'm writing in, that I'm using for my writing. There we go. So I hope this was helpful. Maybe you got some ideas how you could lay out the cards to develop a story. Maybe you even saw a tarot deck that you like, that you haven't thought about it before. I don't want to enable people to buy more decks, but you know, there are some interesting decks that you may not even use for your own readings as such, but maybe for even if you have decks that you don't connect with, you may want to try to use it this way. Maybe those decks are more meant to create stories. Who knows, right? I'm not sure. It's possible that this is the last video for a while. I will see. At the moment I have nothing planned on videos, so I may go on a little break. As I said before, I'm really into that story writing. I really want to focus my energy on this at the moment, so yeah, that's how I want to use my free time at the moment. I may pop up every now and then with a short video, who knows. Yeah, we shall see. Take good care of yourself. Thank you so much for watching. I send you so much love and many blessings, and bye bye.